Commander Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Terran's Resolve, watching the stars through the main screen. 3 years of war had changed her. Her black hair now showed gray streaks at the sides. Her uniform bore the marks of countless battles against the Vex, but her eyes still burned with the same fire that had made her Earth's youngest fleet commander. The ship hummed around her as they moved through space toward the Kepler Junction. This was supposed to be the battle that would end the war. The Vex had gathered their largest fleet there, blocking the main trade route between human and Xalanti space. If they could break through, the war would turn in their favor. "Commander, we're getting a signal from the Xalanti flagship," said Lieutenant Torres from his station. His voice carried the same tired edge they all had after years of fighting. "Put it through," Chun said. The screen flickered and showed Admiral Dizes, the Xalanti fleet commander. The crystal being's body caught the light like a living diamond. When Dizes spoke, his voice had the musical quality all Xalanti possessed. "Commander Chun, we have updated battle plans from High Command. The Vex fleet is larger than we thought. We need to change our approach," Chun nodded. The Xalanti had always been good at strategy. Their crystal minds could process information faster than humans. That was why the alliance worked so well. Human creativity and Xalanti precision had won battle after battle. "Send the new coordinates," Chun said. The data came through quickly. Chun studied the battle plan on her screen. It showed the human fleet making a wide circle around the Vex position while the Xalanti attacked from the front. The humans would hit the Vex from behind while they were busy fighting the crystal ships. "It looks good," Torres said, looking over her shoulder. Classic pincer movement. Chen felt something strange in her stomach. The plan was almost too perfect, but she pushed the feeling away. The Xalanti had never led them wrong before. They had saved human colonies from Vex attacks. They had shared their shield technology. They had fought and died beside human crews. "Signal the fleet," Chun ordered. "We follow the new plan. All ships, prepare for battle." The human fleet was massive. 200 ships of different sizes moved through space like a school of metal fish. Destroyers, cruisers, and the huge dreadnoughts that could crack planets. Each ship carried thousands of human lives. Mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, all fighting for their homes. The Vex fleet appeared on the sensors as they approached the junction. Chun had seen Vex ships before, but this many together still made her skin crawl. They looked like giant insects made of black metal. Their ships had no beauty, no grace. They existed only to consume and destroy. "Xalanti fleet is moving into position," reported the sensor officer. "They're beginning their attack run." Chun watched the tactical display. The Xalanti ships moved forward in perfect formation. Their crystal hulls sparkled as they fired their energy weapons. The Vex responded with swarms of smaller ships that moved like angry wasps. "Beginning our approach," Chun announced. "All ships, follow my lead." The human fleet curved around the battle as planned. Chun could see the explosions in the distance. As the two alien fleets fought, Xalanti ships began to fall, their crystal hulls cracking and going dark. But they kept fighting, just as they always had. "We're in position," Torres said. "Ready to attack?" Chen was about to give the order when something on her screen caught her eye. The Xalanti ships were moving. Not forward into battle, but backward, away from the fight. "What are they doing?" she whispered. "Commander, the Xalanti fleet is withdrawing." The sensor officer called out. "They're leaving the battle zone." Chun felt ice in her veins. "Get me Admiral Dizes, now." The communication screen stayed black. No response from the Xalanti flagship. "Ma'am, we have a problem," Torres said. His voice was tight with fear. "Look at the sensor readings." Chun looked and felt her world collapse. The Vex fleet was not where the plan said it would be. Instead of being caught between two forces, the human fleet was surrounded. Vex ships were rising from behind asteroids, emerging from the shadows of dead planets. Hundreds of them, all pointing their weapons at the humans. "It's a trap," someone whispered on the bridge. Chun's mind raced. The coordinates, the perfect plan, the Xalanti withdrawal. It all made terrible sense now. But she could not believe it Would not believe it. Emergency broadcast to all ships, she ordered. This is Commander Chun. We are surrounded. All vessels, defensive positions. Fight your way out. The battle began instantly. Vex fighters swarmed over the human ships. Like locusts, the black alien vessels fired weapons that tore through metal and flesh alike. Human ships exploded in bright flowers of flame and debris. Chin watched her fleet die around her. The destroyer Courage lasted 30 seconds before Vex bombers overwhelmed its shields. The cruiser New Hope tried to run but was caught by 3 Vex destroyers. One by one, the ships that had followed her into this hell were destroyed. Commander, we're picking up a Zelanti transmission, the communications officer said. It's not directed at us. They think we can't hear it. Put it on speaker, Chun ordered. The voice that came through was Admiral Thies's, but he was not speaking. To humans, he was talking to someone else in the Zelanti language. But Chin had learned enough of it over 3 years to understand the important words. The humans are trapped as promised, Thies said. Our worlds will be spared. The agreement holds. Chun felt something break inside her chest. The Zelanti had made a deal. With the Vex, the enemy that had been killing humans for 3 years, the alliance was a lie. Everything was a lie. Ma'am, the ship is badly damaged, Torres reported. Hull. Breaches on decks 5 through 12. We've lost most of our weapons. Around them, the last human ships were dying. Chun could hear the screams over the communication channels. Captains calling for help that would never come. Crews fighting to the last breath. Chun knew they had minutes before the Vex would board their ship, but there was something she had to do first. Something more important than her life or the lives of her crew. Torres, help me get to the AI core, she said. They ran through corridors filled with smoke and the sound of breaking metal. Emergency lights flashed red as the ship's systems failed one by one. Behind them, Chun could hear the terrible sound of Vex boarding pods hitting the hull. The AI core was in the heart of the ship, protected by thick armor. Chun's hands shook as she downloaded everything. The battle records, the Zelanti communications, the evidence of betrayal. All of it went into a single data core no bigger than her fist. What are you doing? Torres asked. Making sure someone knows the truth, Chun said. She sealed the data core into a stealth probe, one of the smallest ships on board. This has to reach Earth. People have to know what the Zelanti did to us. The probe launched just as Vex soldiers broke through the blast doors. Chun smiled as she watched it disappear into space, invisible to enemy sensors. Let the Vex kill her. Let them destroy her ship. The truth would survive as the alien creatures raised their weapons. Chun's last thought was simple. Humanity would learn what had happened here. And when they did, there would be a reckoning that would shake the stars themselves. Captain Marcus Torres sat in the dark corner of Manny's bar on Titan Station, staring at the datapad in his hands. 6 months had passed since Kepler Junction. 6 months since he had watched his commander die and most of the human fleet burn. The small device contained information that could change everything, but no one wanted to listen. The bar was full of Zelanti now. The crystal beings sat at tables meant for humans, their musical voices filling the air as they talked about trade deals and mining rights. They wore the uniforms of the Galactic Defense Force, the same organization that used to be led by humans. Now humans wore different patches, smaller ones that marked them as support staff. Torres took another drink and looked at the news screen above the bar. A Zelanti reporter was talking about the tragic loss of human leadership at Kepler Junction due to reckless tactical decisions. The same lie they had been telling for months. The same story that made Torres want to put his fist through the wall. You look like someone killed your dog, said a voice behind him. Torres turned to see Captain Lisa Park, another survivor from Kepler Junction. She had commanded the cruiser Defiance and somehow made it out when the trap closed. Her left arm was still in a medical brace from the battle. They're showing the news report again, Torres said, pointing at the screen. Park sat down next to him and ordered a drink. I've stopped watching. Makes me too angry. Good angry or bad angry? Torres asked. The kind that makes me want to do something stupid, Park said. Like walk into Zelanti Command and start shooting? Torres looked around the bar to make sure no one was listening. Then he leaned closer to Park. What if I told you there was proof? Real proof of what they did to us? Park's eyes went hard. I'd say you better not be lying to me, Marcus. Torres showed her the datapad. Commander Chung got this to me before she died. Everything is here. Communication records, battle plans, even a recording of Admiral Dices talking to the Vex. Park grabbed the device and scrolled through the files. Her face went white as she read. This is it. This is everything we need. Why haven't you taken this to Earth Command? I tried, Torres said. 3 times. They won't even look at it. President Martinez says we need to focus on the future, not the past. The official position is that questioning our Zelanti allies would hurt the war effort. What war effort? Park laughed bitterly. We're not fighting anymore. We're supply runners and support staff. The Zelanti are running everything now. Torres nodded. It was true. After losing most of their fleet at Kepler Junction, Earth had no choice but to accept a junior role in the alliance. Human ships carried supplies while Zelanti vessels did the fighting. Human colonies paid extra taxes to support the war while Zelanti worlds were protected. It was not an alliance anymore. It was something else. So what do we do? Park asked. Torres had been thinking about that question for weeks. We go around them. There are other survivors out there. Other people who know something was wrong about Kepler Junction. We find them and we tell them the truth. And then what? Start a revolution? Something like that, Torres said. Commander Chun talked about something before she died. Called it the Reckoning Protocol. She said if humanity was ever truly abandoned, we would need a way to fight back on our own. Park stared at him. You're talking about going against Earth Command? Against our own government? I'm talking about saving our species, Torres said. Look around, Lisa. In 5 years, will there be any humans left in command positions? In 10 years, will we be anything more than servants to the Zelanti? Park was quiet for a long time. Finally, she nodded. What do you need me to do? Over the next 3 months, Torres and Park traveled quietly between human colonies. They met with other survivors from Kepler Junction in secret. They talked to ship captains who had seen strange orders. They found engineers who had been asked to build things they did not understand. The picture that emerged was bigger than Torres had imagined. Commander Chun had not just talked about the Reckoning Protocol. She had started building it. During the war, human ships had been modified in small ways. Civilian vessels had been fitted with hidden weapon mounts. Mining stations had received extra power cores that seemed too big for their work. Colony defense systems had been upgraded with military-grade equipment. At first, everyone thought it was just standard war preparation. But now Torres saw the pattern. June had been getting ready for something. She had been preparing for the day when humanity might need to fight alone. Look at this, said Captain James Wright, showing Torres a shipping manifest on new series. Wright had commanded a supply ship during the war and knew about cargo that did not match the paperwork. Medical supplies that weighed too much, food shipments that needed cooling units, construction materials that were actually weapon components. Torres studied the list. She was arming the colonies. More than that, Wright said. She was teaching them how to fight dirty. Some of those medical supplies were actually combat drugs. The food shipments contained military rations that could keep soldiers fighting for weeks. And those construction materials could build anything from bunkers to bomb factories. The more they learned, the more impressed Torres became with his dead commander. June had been planning for betrayal before it happened. Somehow, she had known that trusting the Zelanti completely was a mistake. But the network was not active yet. It was like a gun that had been loaded but not fired. All the pieces were in place, but they needed someone to pull the trigger. We need to be careful, Park warned during one of their meetings. The Zelanti are watching us. I've seen their security ships following human vessels. Let them watch, said Captain Sarah Kim, another survivor. They think they've won. They think humans are broken and helpless. That's their mistake, Torres agreed. The Zelanti were good at many things, but they did not understand human nature. They saw the defeat at Kepler Junction and thought it was the end. They did not realize that humans were like a broken bone that heals stronger than before. "We need to start small," Torres said. "Activate a few nodes at a time. Test the network. Make sure everything works." They began with the outer colonies, places where Zelanti oversight was light. A mining station here, a farming world there. Torres and his team would arrive as routine visitors and leave behind activation codes. Within days, hidden weapons would come online. Civilian ships would reveal military modifications. Ordinary colonists would remember training they thought they had forgotten. The first test came when Vex raiders attacked a small human settlement on Kepler 7. The colony had no official defenses, just a few local security guards. But when the raiders landed, they found something they did not expect. The farmers fought back with military precision. Hidden turrets rose from the ground. Civilian vehicles revealed armor plating and heavy weapons. Within an hour, the Vex raiders were destroyed. And the colony had not lost a single person. The Zelanti investigation team was confused. How had a simple farming colony defeated trained Vex warriors? The humans just shrugged and said they had been lucky. But Torres knew better. The Reckoning protocol was working. Xi'an's hidden network was coming alive, one piece at a time. And the Zelanti had no idea what was happening right under their crystal noses. As Torres stood on the observation deck of his ship, looking out at the stars, he felt something he had not felt since Kepler Junction. Hope. Humanity was not broken. They were just getting started. The Zelanti thought they had won by betraying their human allies. They thought humans would accept their new role as junior partners in the alliance. They thought wrong. Torres smiled and activated another set of codes. Somewhere in human space, more hidden weapons came online. More ordinary people remembered they were not as helpless as they seemed. The reckoning was coming. And when it arrived, the Zelanti would learn that betraying humanity was the biggest mistake they had ever made. Admiral Dizes stood in the command center of the Zelanti flagship Crystal Dawn. Watching the tactical display with growing concern, red warning lights covered the map of Zelanti space. The Vex were attacking everywhere at once, and his fleet was losing. "Report," Dizes commanded, his crystal voice sharp with stress. 17 more colonies have gone dark in the last hour," his aide reported. "The Vex are moving faster than our projections suggested. They are not honoring the agreement." Dizes felt something cold settle in his crystalline chest. The deal with the Vex had been simple. The parasites would eliminate the human military threat first, then allow the Zelanti time to prepare defenses. In exchange, the Zelanti had provided human fleet positions and tactical data. It was supposed to buy them years of preparation time. Instead, the Vex had waited only 6 months before turning on their partners. "Sir, incoming message from Zelanti High Command," the communications officer announced. The holographic image of Supreme Commander Zeth appeared above the command table. The ancient Zelanti leader looked tired, his usual crystal brightness dimmed with worry. "Admiral Dizes, you must understand our situation," Zeth said without greeting. "The Vex offensive is larger than anything we have seen. We are losing 3 systems for every one we hold. We need immediate reinforcement." "From where?" Dizes asked. "Our fleet is already stretched across 40 systems. We cannot be everywhere at once." "From the humans," Zeth said simply. Dizes stared at his superior. "The humans barely have a fleet left after Kepler Junction. And they hate us now. Many suspect what we did, even if they cannot prove it." "Then we make them an offer they cannot refuse," Zeth replied. "Promise them full partnership again. Give them command of joint operations. Whatever it takes to get their ships and their tactical expertise. And if they refuse?" Zeth's image flickered with interference from nearby explosions. "Then we all die together. The Vex will not stop with Zelanti worlds. Earth will be next, and after that every inhabited system in the galaxy." The transmission ended, leaving Dizes alone with an impossible choice. Contact the species they had betrayed and ask for help, or watch civilization burn while the Vex consumed everything on Earth. President Martinez sat in the emergency session of the Human Defense Council. The large room was filled with military. Officers, civilian leaders, and scientists. All of them looked scared. "The Zelante message is clear," General Harrison said, reading from his datapad. "They need our help immediately. Every available ship, every trained crew member, they are offering us full command authority over joint operations." "It's obviously a trap," said Admiral Foster, one of the few senior officers who had survived Kepler Junction by being on Earth during the battle. "They betrayed us once. Why should we trust them now?" "Because if we don't help them, the Vex will destroy the Zelante and then come for us," Martinez replied. "We may not like our allies, but they are all that stands between Earth and extinction." In the back of the room, Captain Torres listened to the debate with growing anger. He had been recalled to Earth 3 days ago for routine briefing, but he knew the real reason. Someone had noticed his travels between colonies. Someone was getting suspicious. Torres touched the datapad in his pocket. The activation codes for the Reckoning Protocol were all there, ready to be transmitted. But if he used them now, Earth? Command would arrest him as a traitor. If he waited, humanity might march into another Zelante trap. "We vote now," Martinez announced. "All in favor of sending military aid to the Zelante?" Hands went up around the room. Not all of them, but enough. Torres watched democracy commit suicide and felt his last faith in Earth's government die. "Motion carries," Martinez said. "General Harrison, begin mobilizing all available forces." "We depart for Zelante space in 72 hours. Torres stood up. "Mr. President, I request permission to speak." "Captain Torres, this is not the time for debate," Martinez said dismissively. "Sir, I have information about Zelante reliability that a council should hear." "Captain, your concerns have been noted and dismissed. Please take your seat." Torres looked around the room at the faces of humanity's leaders. These people were about to send the last human ships into a war that would probably destroy them. And they would not even listen to evidence that might save lives. "Yes, sir," Torres said. But instead of sitting down, he walked toward the exit. "Captain, where are you going?" General Harrison called. Torres paused at the door. "To save humanity, sir." Since no one else will, he left the building and walked quickly to his ship. Within an hour, he was in space, heading away from Earth. Behind him, the greatest military mobilization in human history was beginning. Ships were being fueled, crews were being assembled, and weapons were being loaded. It would all be for nothing unless Torres acted first. He opened a secure channel and began transmitting the activation codes. All across human space, his signal reached hidden receivers. On mining stations and farming colonies and shipping centers and research outposts, the Reckoning Protocol came alive. The first sign was on Ceres Station. A routine cargo inspection suddenly revealed that the civilian freighter Honest Work was carrying enough weapons to arm a small army. When security tried to investigate, the ship's crew produced military identification that no one had seen before. "We're not civilians," Captain Janet Stone told the confused station commander. "We never were. We've been waiting for orders, and now we have them." The same scene played out across dozens of worlds. Ordinary people suddenly revealed training and equipment that should not exist. Miners turned out to be combat engineers. Farmers showed expertise with military vehicles. Teachers began organizing evacuation and defense plans with professional precision on New Geneva. The colonial governor was shocked when his head of agriculture requested permission to activate defensive measures. "What defensive measures?" Governor Walsh asked. "We're a farming colony. We don't have defenses." "Sir, with respect, we have more defenses than most military bases," replied Director Chun, a middle-aged woman who had been growing vegetables for the past 5 years. "We just haven't activated them yet." Within hours, hidden turrets rose from wheat fields. Civilian vehicles shed their disguises to reveal armor and weapons. The orbital processing station transformed into a fortress with enough firepower to stop a fleet. "How is this possible?" Walsh demanded. "Commander Sarah Chun planned for this 3 years ago," Director Chun explained. "She knew that someday humanity might need to fight alone. So she made sure we would be ready. The news reached Earth just as the human fleet was preparing to depart for Zelante space. General Harrison burst into President Martinez's office with a datapad full of reports. "Sir, we have a problem. Multiple colonies are reporting unauthorized military activity. Civilian ships are revealing hidden weapons. Citizens are claiming to have military training we never gave them." Martinez read the reports with growing alarm. "This is impossible. Where did they get military equipment? Who authorized this?" "That's what's strange, sir. The equipment all has proper authorization codes, but they're signed by officers who died at Kepler Junction, including Commander Sarah Chun." Martinez felt cold. "Are you telling me that a dead officer is commanding a secret military force?" "Sir, I think Commander Chun prepared for something like this before she died, and now someone has activated her preparations." On his ship, Torres smiled as he watched the reports flood in. The reckoning protocol was working even better than Chun had planned. Hidden assets were revealing themselves across human space. The network was coming online node by node, creating a military force that existed outside of official channels. But the real test was still coming. Earth's fleet was already moving towards Zelante space, carrying humanity's last official military forces into what Torres was certain was another trap. Soon, the Zelante would learn that humans were not as helpless as they seemed. And when that moment came, Torres wanted to be ready with something the crystal beings had never seen before. He opened another communication channel and began transmitting new codes. Across human space, Phase 2 of the Reckoning Protocol began to activate. The real surprise was just beginning. Admiral Thizes watched his flagship's main screen in horror as another Zelante colony ship exploded in the distance. The human fleet had arrived 2 hours ago, just as the Vex were overrunning the Crystal Harbor system. For a moment, Thizes had felt hope. The humans would help them fight off the parasites, and together they could turn back this terrible invasion. Instead, the human ships had done something unthinkable. They had waited. They had watched the Vex destroy 3 Zelante destroyers and a civilian transport before finally responding to Tice's desperate calls for assistance. "Human fleet is moving to engage," his tactical officer reported. Thizes watched. The Earth ships advanced toward the Vex swarm. Their formation was perfect, their approach textbook. For a moment, it looked like the old partnership was restored. Then something went wrong. "Sir, the human ships are breaking off their attack," the officer said, confusion clear in his crystal voice. "What?" Thizes stared at the display. The human fleet had been seconds away from hitting the Vex from behind. Instead, they were turning away, leaving the Zelante forces to face the enemy alone. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the human fleet." "Commander," the communications officer announced. Admiral Foster's face appeared on the screen. The human looked tired, but his eyes were cold with purpose. "Admiral Thizes, this is Admiral Foster of the Earth Defense Force. We have received your distress signal." "Admiral Foster, thank the crystals you are here," Thizes said. "We need immediate support. The Vex have us surrounded." "I understand your situation," Foster replied. His voice carried no warmth, no urgency. "However, we have received new intelligence that requires us to withdraw and reassess." "Withdraw?" Thizes felt panic rising in his chest. "Admiral, if you leave now, my entire fleet will be destroyed. Thousands of Zelante lives will be lost." Foster was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made Tice's crystal body go cold. "Like the thousands of human lives lost at Kepler Junction while your fleet withdrew to safety?" The transmission ended. Thizes stared at the blank screen as understanding hit him like a physical blow. The humans knew. Somehow, they had learned about the betrayal. "Sir, the human fleet is leaving the system," the tactical officer reported. "We are on our own." Captain Torres stood on the bridge of his ship, the defiant truth, watching the tactical display with grim satisfaction. His vessel was part of the Shadow Fleet, the ships that had been secretly modified during the war. Around him, 24 other ships moved in perfect coordination. Ships that officially did not exist. "Target the Zelante supply depot on Asteroid 7, Torres ordered. "Full bombardment." Sir, there are civilian workers on that facility, his weapons officer said. Check the records, Torres replied. That depot has been supplying Xalanti military forces for 3 years. The same forces that abandoned us at Kepler Junction. No civilians, only collaborators. The missiles struck the depot in a brilliant flash. Years of Xalanti military supplies went up in smoke and fire. Torres felt no satisfaction from the destruction, only cold purpose. Next target is the communication array on Crystal Moon Base, he announced. We cut their ability to call for help. This was Phase 3 of the Reckoning Protocol. While Earth's official fleet played games with the Xalanti, Torres and his shadow forces were systematically destroying Xalanti infrastructure in human space. Every joint base, every shared facility, every symbol of the alliance that had betrayed them, but they were not killing randomly. Each target was chosen carefully. Communications centers that had blocked human distress calls during the war. Supply depots that had favored Xalanti forces over human ones. Command stations where Xalanti officers had given orders that sent humans to their deaths. Sir, incoming message from the mining station at Beta 7, the communications officer reported. They're reporting Xalanti ships approaching and requesting support. Torres smiled. Beta 7 was a human mining colony, but it also hosted a small Xalanti administrative post. The crystal beings probably thought they could find safety there. Tell Beta 7 to follow Protocol 7, Torres said. Protocol 7, sir? The young officer looked confused. They'll understand, Torres replied. At Beta 7 mining station. Administrator Patricia Wong received the coded message and nodded grimly. She had been waiting for this day since she was secretly briefed 3 years ago. Like many civilian administrators in human space, Wong was more than she appeared to be. All mining crews return to base immediately, she announced over the station. Intercom, prepare for emergency evacuation procedures. The Xalanti ships arrived an hour later. 3 crystal vessels, damaged from fighting the Vex, limping toward what they thought was sanctuary. Admiral Kess, commanding the small force, sent a standard docking request. Beta 7 Station, this is Admiral Kess of the Xalanti 4th Fleet. We require emergency repairs and medical assistance. Wong's voice came back steady and professional. Admiral Kess, you are cleared for docking at Base 7. Medical teams are standing by. What the Xalanti did not know was that Base 7 had been specially modified years ago. As their ships docked, hidden magnetic locks engaged, trapping the vessels in place. The crystal beings were just beginning to realize something was wrong. When Wong's voice came over their communication systems again. Admiral Kess, this is Administrator Wong. I have a message for you from Commander Sarah Chun of the human fleet. You might remember her? She died at Kepler Junction while your people fled to safety. In the docking bay, security doors slammed shut. Emergency force fields activated, cutting off the Xalanti ships from their escape routes. This message is simple. Wong continued. Humanity remembers, humanity adapts, and humanity never forgives. The Xalanti tried to break free, but their damaged ships were no match for the station's defenses. Wong did not destroy them. That would have been too quick. Instead, she disabled their engines and communication systems, leaving them trapped and helpless. You will remain here until the war is over, Wong announced. Think of it as protective custody. After all, we would not want you to get hurt while running away from another battle. Across human space, similar scenes played out. Xalanti forces that sought shelter in human systems found themselves trapped, disarmed, or abandoned. The humans were not killing their former allies, but they were making sure the crystal beings understood the price of betrayal. On Earth, President Martinez sat in his office, reading report after report of unauthorized military action. Human colonies were openly defying orders. Military units were attacking Xalanti forces without permission. Civilian administrators were taking hostile action against their supposed allies. Sir, we have to do something, General Harrison said. This is mutiny on a galactic scale. What can we do? Martinez asked. Court-martial half the human colonies? Arrest every ship captain who refuses to follow orders? We would need an army to enforce discipline and our army is currently scattered across space fighting an unauthorized war. Sir, the Zelanti are demanding an explanation. They say human forces have betrayed them just as they were most vulnerable. Martinez laughed, but there was no humor in it. The Zelanti are complaining about betrayal? That is rich, sir. Nothing, General. Send a message to the Zelanti leadership. Tell them we are investigating these unauthorized actions and will take appropriate measures. What Martinez did not say was that he was beginning to understand the truth. Someone had prepared for this moment years ago. Someone had seen the betrayal coming and made sure humanity would be ready to respond. The more he learned about the hidden military network, the more impressed he became with its creator. Commander Sarah Chun had been dead for 8 months, but her planning was still protecting humanity. The Reckoning Protocol was not just about revenge, it was about survival. It was about making sure that if humanity was ever truly alone, they would be strong enough to stand in his ship. Torres received reports from across human space. The Shadow War was going perfectly. Zelanti forces were trapped, their supply lines cut, their communication networks disrupted. The crystal beings were learning what it felt like to be abandoned in their hour of greatest need, but Torres knew this was only the beginning. The real test was still coming. Somewhere in deep space, the Vex were gathering their strength for a final push. When that happened, humanity would face a choice between revenge and survival. Torres hoped his people would choose wisely. But first, the Zelanti had to learn that betraying humanity was the worst mistake any species could make. Captain Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiant Truth, watching the most terrifying sight he had ever seen. The main display showed a wall of Vex ships stretching across space like a black ocean. There were thousands of them, maybe tens of thousands. More than had ever been seen in one place. Sir, long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures, his tactical officer reported. This is not just another Vex fleet, this is something else entirely. Torres studied the readings and felt cold fear settle in his stomach. The energy patterns were different from normal Vex ships, stronger, more organized. This was not a random swarm of parasites. This was the core of their species, the hive mind that controlled everything. Set course for Earth, Torres ordered. Maximum speed. Sir, what about the Zelanti? Some of their ships are still requesting assistance. Torres looked at the smaller displays showing Zelanti distress signals scattered across nearby systems. Crystal ships trapped by his forces, damaged fleets begging for help, entire colonies going dark as Vex swarms overwhelmed them. Let them burn, Torres said quietly, but even as he said it, something twisted in his chest. He thought of Commander Chun and wondered what she would do in this moment. Would she abandon former allies to face extinction? Or would she find another way? The journey to Earth took 18 hours at maximum speed. Torres used the time to coordinate with other Shadow Fleet commanders. The hidden network that Shun had built was fully active now, but it was scattered across human space. If the Vex reached Earth, they would need every ship, every weapon, every trained soldier they could find. When Torres arrived at the Sol system, he found chaos. Earth's orbital defenses were being reinforced with desperate speed. Civilian ships were being evacuated from the inner planets. Military vessels that should have been fighting the Vex were racing home to defend their homeworld. Captain Torres, this is Earth Defense Command, came a signal from the planet below. You are ordered to report for immediate briefing. Torres ignored the transmission and opened a channel to all ships in the system. Human military vessels, civilian transports, mining ships, even luxury yachts. His words would reach every human ear in the solar system. This is Captain Marcus Torres of the Human Shadow Fleet, he began. Some of you know me, some of you think I'm a traitor. All of you need to listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will decide whether humanity survives the next few days. On Earth, President Martinez sat in the Emergency Command Center, listening to Torres broadcast across every communication channel in the system. Around him, military officers and civilian leaders watched the screens showing the approaching Vex Armada. The largest Vex force in galactic history is heading for Earth, Torres continued. Our official fleet is scattered across space, fighting a war we cannot win. The Zelanti are broken and desperate. In 72 hours, maybe less, the Vex will arrive here and try to end human civilization forever. Martinez felt the weight of failure crushing down on him. Everything his government had done had led to this moment. The alliance with the Zelanti, the trust in their strategies, the decision to send Earth's fleet away when it was needed most. But we are not helpless, Torres said, his voice carrying across space to every human listener. Commander Sarah Chun prepared for this day 3 years ago. She built a network of hidden defenses, trained soldiers, and secret weapons that exists outside of official channels. That network is ready to fight. Martinez looked at his advisors and saw the same thought in every face. They had lost control of the situation completely. The real military force protecting humanity was not the one they commanded. However, Torres continued, we face a choice. We can use our strength to continue our war of revenge against the Zelanti. We can watch them burn while the Vex grows stronger. Or we can remember what we are really fighting for. Torres paused, looking out at the stars where he knew other humans were listening. Fighter pilots and ship captains, colonists and administrators. Everyone who had secretly prepared for this day. The Zelanti betrayed us, he said. They abandoned us at Kepler Junction and watched us die. They deserve punishment. They deserve to face the same fear and helplessness they forced on us. But if we let revenge consume us, we become like them. We become the kind of species that sacrifices others to save ourselves. On the bridge of the Crystal Dawn, Admiral Thizes listened to the human broadcast with growing amazement. His fleet was broken, his people scattered and dying. But here was a human offering something impossible. Hope. The Vex are coming for all of us, Torres said. They do not care about human or Zelanti politics. They do not honor deals or respect boundaries. They want to consume every living thing in the galaxy, and they are strong enough to do it unless we stop them together. Thizes looked at his officers, seeing the same desperate hope in their crystal faces. They had expected the humans to let them die after the betrayal, after months of abandoned promises and broken trust. They had expected nothing but revenge. I am hereby issuing new orders to all human forces, Torres announced. Any Zelanti ship or colony that requests assistance will receive it. Any crystal being that fights beside us will be treated as an ally. And any Zelanti leader who proves their commitment to this alliance will be given the chance to earn our trust again. Martinez leaned forward in his chair. Is he making policy now? Sir, he's commanding more ships than we are, General Harrison replied quietly. Torres was not finished. But trust must be earned, not given. The Zelanti will take the most dangerous assignments. They will hold the front lines while we prepare Earth's defenses. They will prove with their actions that they have learned the cost of betrayal. The transmission switched to a private channel reaching only Zelanti command frequencies. Torres was speaking directly to their leadership now. Admiral Thizes, Supreme Commander Zeth, all Zelanti military commanders, you betrayed humanity once, and we will never forget that. But the galaxy is bigger than our anger, and the Vex are worse than our hate. Thizes straightened in his command chair, knowing that this moment would define the future of both species. You have one chance to prove that your people can be trusted again, Torres said. The Vex core fleet will reach Earth in 3 days. Between here and there are 17 star systems with Vex swarms gathering strength. Your job is to delay them. Fight them in every system. Make them pay for every light year. Buy us time to prepare. And if we refuse? Thizes found himself asking aloud, though he knew Torres could not hear him. If you refuse, Torres continued as if reading his thoughts, then Earth will face the Vex alone. And when we win, we will remember that the Zelanti chose their own survival over galactic survival. Again, the challenge was clear. Prove their worth in battle, or be forever marked as cowards and betrayers. However, Torres added, if you fight, if you hold the line, if you show that Zelanti honor means something more than convenient words, Then, when this war is over, we will build a new alliance. One based on earned respect instead of naive trust. Supreme Commander Zeth appeared on Tice's communication screen, his ancient crystal form glowing with renewed purpose. Admiral Thizes, Zeth said, gather every ship that can still fight. We have an appointment with the Vex, and this time we do not run. Over the next 60 hours, the strangest fleet in galactic history assembled in the outer systems. Damaged Zelanti warships flying alongside human shadow vessels. Crystal fighters escorted by mining ships armed with hidden weapons. Former enemies. Working together against a threat that would destroy them all. The first battle came at the Kepler system, the same place where the Zelanti had betrayed humanity years before. This time, when the Vex attacked, the crystal ships did not retreat. They fought like beings possessed, throwing themselves at the enemy's swarms with desperate courage. Thizes watched his flagship's hull crack under Vex fire and felt something he had not experienced since his youth: pride, not the cold satisfaction of tactical victory, but the warm knowledge that his people were finally acting with honor. The Zelanti held the line for 18 hours before falling back to the next system. Then they held there for 12 hours, then 8. Each battle cost them ships they could not replace. But each battle bought Earth precious time to prepare. When the final Vex assault reached the Sol system, they found humanity ready. Not just the official Earth fleet, but the shadow networks, the hidden defenses, the secret armies that Chun had prepared. And fighting beside them, what remained of the Zelanti fleet, battered but unbroken. The battle for Earth lasted 3 days. When it was over, the Vex core fleet was destroyed, their hive minds shattered, their species broken as a galactic threat. But the cost had been terrible. Half the human fleet was gone. The Zelanti had lost 80% of their remaining forces. In the aftermath, Torres stood on Earth's surface for the first time in years, watching Zelanti survivors work alongside human crews to repair damaged ships. The crystal beings worked without complaint, following human orders, proving their commitment with actions instead of words. Admiral Thizes approached him, his crystal body dim with exhaustion but his voice steady. Captain Torres, Thizes said, my people owe you a debt we can never repay. You could have let us die, and no one would have blamed you.